Hey, is your show up rate tanked? Well, in this video, I'm going to give you the ultimate step-by-step strategy to make sure that your leads stop ghosting you forever. For the best advice on high-ticket sales, training your sales team, mindset, make sure you hit subscribe and then click the notification bell so that you can be alerted for whenever I upload a new video. It's nothing but bangers from here on out. All right, so why should you listen to me about show up rates? Very simple. I worked for Hyros for a very brief amount of time, about 2 months, and in that time, I took their show up rate from 46% to 80 to 85%. And I'm going to break down the exact systems, strategies, frameworks, everything that I've showed them, plus all my other clients to increase their show rate to 80, 90%. Okay, so stay tuned. So here's the very first principle. They must see the value in showing up to the next call. So if you're doing a discovery call or a triage call, no amount of reminder sequences that you send them via email or text is going to get them to show up if they feel like it's not going to be worth their time, okay? If they feel like there's no value in showing up, they're going to ghost. Often what happens is we create sales pressure and sales resistance through the questions that we're asking them. I like giving them a low pressure offer. Hey, regardless of whether you choose to work with us, I'd be happy to share some of the exact strategies that are working for my clients right now to solve XYZ problem. Sound good? Yeah, sounds good. If your prospect totally seen the value in working with you, there's an analogy that I like to think of. If they knew they had a brain tumor and the only time that they could talk to the doctor, the one doctor in the world who could save their life was 4 a.m. in the middle of a Saturday night, guess what? They would be there. They would for sure be there. All right, so they must see the value in showing up to the next part of your sales process. And for the love of God, please do not say, come to a discovery call or a strategy session. Those terms have been so played out that everyone just instantly thinks, oh, sales call. This guy's just gonna sell me. Yeah, it's not worth my time. This is basically what's happening to a lot of people. And the other piece of this is making sure that you get them to ask you for the next step. A lot of the times when I'm training appointment setters, they get to the end of the call and they start trying to convince the person that they should take the next step. They try to sell them on it. It's like, oh, you should talk to so-and-so closer or to this person because it's going to be really valuable for you and da-da-da-da-da. And it's usually because the appointment setter is coming from a place of scarcity and they need to hit their numbers or they need to make their money, or maybe they've been dialing all day and they haven't talked to anybody. And the person just gets this weird pushy vibe. And then they might even agree, but they almost always ghost. So you have to get them to want it. Like, it's same as we build demand in our sales, we want to build demand in our setting. And when you get them to agree to the next call, I want to listen to their certainty. When you get them to agree to the next call, I don't just listen to their words, I also listen to their tonality. Are they for sure? Are they certain? Or are they like, yeah, I guess. You can usually go back and listen. How pumped were they to go to the next step? Have like a little temperature check that you have. Similar to before you close them, you want to make sure that they're excited for the next call or at least bought in. And then I would do what's called a double tie down. So, okay, we have 2 appointments, there's this time and this time. And they go, okay, I'll do Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Okay, great. Are you sure that time works for you? Yeah. You don't have like a soccer game or like a dentist appointment or anything like that? Yeah, oh, let me check. Then they'll go and check. And they go, oh, I actually do have an appointment there. Can we do 4 p.m.? Are you sure? Okay, are you sure that time 100% works for you? And they go, yeah, 100%. Okay, great, we double tied them down. And then I would go to the next step of saying, okay, are you going to be in a place where you can focus? You're in front of a computer, you're not driving. One time I had a guy show up on a mountain bike. I'm like, what's that noise? He's like, a mountain bike. I had to reschedule. You want them to be in a place where they're closable. And I would even go so far as to say, hey, if you're not there, we'll just cancel the call or reschedule you. It just depends how much authority you have in your marketplace. And hey, by the way, let me know in the comments below what step have you found most useful or insightful so far? And what is your current show up rate? Now, step 3 is all about reducing sales resistance. Typically what happens when people ghost is that the appointment setter or you financially qualify people a bit too hard. Their sales walls went up and they said, you know what, this next call is just going to be a long sales pitch. It's not worth my time. So this happens from hard qualifying people. Typically, you can ask for qualifying questions in different ways. I don't really have time to go into that, but one hint for you is that when I was appointment setting, I would basically listen to someone's, not their circumstances, like how much money you're making, you know, da-da-da. I would listen to their energy and their intelligence. And if they were a high energy, intelligent person, you can tell from just talking to them. I typically found the numbers revealed that they found the money. Even if they didn't have it, they would go out and find it. They were more resourceful. They just had a higher consciousness level. It's weird, okay? It's weird. When you hard qualify, you're really digging into their finances. It's like, hey, how much money did you make last month? Okay, and what's your cash on hand? Do you have credit? Da-da-da. You really have to make sure that you tie them down, that they are sold on the path, or they're sold into the idea that the current path they're on is not going to get them from point A to point B. So it's not going to get them to their end result. And then you can qualify them a bit harder, but I would still not recommend it. The main job of appointment setting is to make sure that they have a problem that you can help them with, that they're committed to solving it, that ideally they want to solve it sooner rather than later, seeing if they have business partners or any other, you know, a spouse, someone who else will be involved in the decision, and then really just getting them excited for the next call. Like, okay, I feel like these guys get me and they can potentially help. That's the emotion and belief that you want to install in them at the end of the call. Now, the only time that I would really hard qualify people is when there are a lot of red flags. Like when they're asking you about what is the price or something 5 seconds into the call, you would probably want to ask, okay, well, like what makes you say that? Are you asking to make sure that the value is there, or because you don't have money? And you can just go into that, okay? So you look for red flags versus green flags. This is something I spoke about in my sales script review training. I'm gonna link it up here. Go watch that after this video. It's super helpful. The next one is to make sure that you fix your energy. The overall energy of the call is not that you're excited to talk to them. You're excited for them to book the next call. It's that you are the authority. You have the solution. And you just tell them, hey, if you don't show up, you're going to get canceled. We have a lot of people that are looking for this spot. It's more like, hey, I am the prize here and you are lucky to talk to us. And one thing you don't want to do as an appointment setter, or when you're setting appointments for yourself, is talk way too long. You want to keep them short and simple. You don't want to have these marathon, conversations. And especially what you don't want to do is talk about anything involving the program or the offer. Usually the entire focus of the call is just to see, okay, can we help you? What's your situation? Where do you want to be? What have you tried? Okay, maybe like going slightly into the finances. There's different ways to do that. Figuring out their decision-making process. In other words, do they have a business partner, whatever. Like, you want to keep things short, simple, and then get off the call ASAP. And remember, even though it might be an appointment setting call, you're still selling. You're still selling the next step of the process, which is to show up to the next call. Okay, so there's such a thing called the handoff zone between appointment setter and closer. Prospect is in the handoff zone if they are financially qualified, if they have the problem, if you have clarity on their, if they have a business partner or a spouse, and then the closer knows that this person is closable. Because the worst thing that can happen for a closer is to go all in trying to close this person, only to find that they don't have the money and then they just wasted all this time. That's like the worst feeling. Okay, now let's talk about step number 5, which is getting them to show up and the different best practices and assets that you can have in order to do that. One thing I would strongly recommend is if you have an appointment setter and a closer, or you're the entrepreneur and you have an appointment setter setting for you, is to create a group chat. Especially if you're running to cold traffic, they already don't trust you. A group chat, they can check out your social media. You say, hey, check this guy out. Ideally, you have content, you have testimonials, you have social proof, all that stuff. And then they can check you out and have a conversation and say, oh, okay, this guy is like a real guy. It's big. So create a group chat and then introduce each other. It helps. The next thing is to have a homework video of some sort. A homework video is essentially something that is about anywhere from 10 to 18 minutes long, explaining a little bit about you, a little bit about your process, why it works, sharing some case studies, and then really pre-framing them and indoctrinating them for the next call so that they show up a lot warmer and they know what you do. You don't have to waste a lot of time educating them. I made another video on this about pre-selling. I could link that somewhere around here too. I would strongly suggest if you get a new lead, there's 2 types of sequences. So the first one, we called it a new lead sequence, which basically takes somebody who is cold and warms them up. They get to know what you're all about, gives them some value, gives them some social proof, and then makes the call to action to book a call with you. And then there's a show up sequence. And in the show up sequence, I would have the homework video, I would have the emails, which are reminding them to show up to their call, and then the texts. So that's the second piece of getting them to show up, is surrounding them, I called it. So I want to hit them on multiple platforms. I'm going to email them and text them, maybe even DM them, whatever. I want to make sure that I hit them on at least 2 platforms to make sure that they have confirmed that they're going to be there the next day or like the day before. And then I'll send them in the morning, hey, looking forward to seeing you. If I don't hear back from them, I'll shoot them a text, hey, did you see this? And then if it's an hour beforehand, typically I would have got the appointment setter to say on the last call, if you don't confirm, we'll cancel your appointment. And then I hit them one last time an hour beforehand to make sure that they're going to show. And I said, hey, like I haven't heard from you. I'm assuming that you're not going to be able to show, so we'll just reschedule your call. Now, one thing about creating your application, if you're pre-qualifying really hard in your application, like how much money can you spend, this, that, you will get a lot of no-shows, right? You're screening people a lot harder. That's part of the game. So the less questions you ask, the more volume you get, but of course, it may or may not be less qualified. Depends on your marketing and stuff. Now, one thing I look for on the application is the quality of answer I get. So if it's an answer where they can leave a paragraph, but they only leave like one word, it's like, what's your goal? And they're like, money. You know that person's not that serious, and I would almost cancel them and just send them a video and said, hey, I noticed that your questions didn't really look like you were that invested in making this change or in getting help, so we just canceled your appointment. If we made a mistake, go ahead and rebook here. And sometimes they will, sometimes we're like, yeah, whatever. They would have no-showed anyway, fuck them. One asset that you want to have in place is, again, making sure that they know to come to the call with correct expectations. I'm not driving, I'll be in a quiet room, I'll have, pen and piece of paper. You just don't want them to be out and about because you can't really close them if they're walking through the woods or God knows what they're doing, Now, one thing a lot of people do, which is a mistake, is sending way too many things before the next call. So they send 6 case studies, they send all these different training videos, they send their homework video. That's why I like a homework video, because it checks all the boxes and it's just one thing. It's just take this one step. And if they can do that, they're way more likely to show up. Like they're way more likely to do just one thing versus like look at all these 50 million pieces of content that you're sending them. So you don't want to overwhelm them with stuff. And here are 12 spots in your sales process that you can use to pre-sell and pre-handle objections with your prospects before they get on the call with you. So the first one is the source that you're using to generate leads. Your ads, your messaging, your content. And then there's your application page. And then there's the thank you page when they apply. And then you have the calendar booking page. So sometimes if they apply and it's conditional, if they are not qualified, it sends them away. If they are qualified, it sends them to another page. Then you can have your homework video on that one. The next spots are your reminder emails, your text confirmations, a qualifying call. Then you have your triage call, which is like the 15-minute discovery call before they jump on the call to make sure that they're a fit. Then sometimes you can send them to a booking page from the triage call before the sales call so that they can book with the closer. Then you can have more pieces of content on that booking page. And again, on the thank you page of that booking page, there's even more content that they can go through. And then finally, you have your confirmation and reminder text messages and emails. So those are 12 different spots that you can use to pre-sell your leads before they get on the call with you. Okay guys, so that's it, that's a wrap. And hey, if you got value from this video, hit that like button, make sure that you subscribe, and check out this next video, which is all about nurturing your leads so that they show up to your call ready to buy. All right, thanks for watching guys. Be great. Catch you in the next one.